a nationwide test set to begin any moment. Don't be alarmed, it is just a test.
Oh.
In a couple of moments, I will disappear, and you will see this test, and then we'll be back.
It's so much fun.
30 seconds later, and we'll carry on with the broadcast.
And radio got cut off. This is what's important. Making sure the feds can take over your local radio station without your control. Every station at once. Every point of the dial. Cable. Broadcast TV. FM. AM. Shortwave.
This is a test of the emergency alert system. The message you are hearing is part of a nationwide live code test of emergency alert system capabilities.
The Empire needs to let you know what's going on when you're watching a cooking show.
You've seen similar tests on your local stations. This will look and sound like those tests. The latest one will be conducted in the event of an actual emergency, and it's meant to provide information in a national crisis. So they're rolling out this national alert system. Remember, you cannot avoid it by flipping the channel. It's everywhere.
You cannot avoid it when you go to Walmart. There's a Janet Napolitano going in at hundreds of their locations telling you to trust no one but government at the checkout line and on Jumbotrons and at Central Park and Times Square and in Las Vegas and at Mall of America. And, oh, I'll give you the rest of the story here in a moment. It's going to be on your cell phones, your Xboxes, your Kinects, everything. You will get the Big Brother message whether you like it or not. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Infowars Nightly News. And it is the 9th day of 2011 on this live Wednesday edition. Thank you for joining us. And a lot of you are saying, well, I get my news from the internet. So what if they take over UHF, VHF TV? So what if they take over cable? You know, so what? That's all dinosaur dying media. It doesn't matter if you don't want to watch the info babe telling you it's no big deal to have the first test of this type. Because you think, and I thought, you just run to the internet to get away from these people. But no, they're coming out and saying, and they're already testing, forced text to your phone videos. We reported on it last year in Police State 4, the rise of FEMA. And now the Washington Post has come out today and said, yes, they're now going to move into the next phase, breaking in on your cell phone, breaking in on your Xbox that's connected to the internet, breaking in. And they sell it in the Washington Post like, gee, when are we going to get one of those nice authoritarian central government takeover systems? And they say, don't worry. They've been testing a system, and it's going to be coming out soon. If you feel left out because you're on the internet, if you feel left out when you're playing your video games, if you feel left out, we're going to forcibly call your landline. We're going to break in over your phone call and take over with a Barack Obama video. But here's the good news. People are seeing through this dangerous, out-of-control federal power grab. They're seeing through it. And a lot of talk show hosts, myself included, talked about this in the last few weeks. We've been talking about it really first since the late 1990s when engineers warned me about the situation. And the people are saying no to this because the feds 6 months ago announced, and we covered it in a federal press release, that Obama was going to address the public on the new system and how they were going to be taking over our cell phones and all other systems for 30 minutes. And then it was going to be 10, and then 5, and then 1 minute message from Obama. And then they thought better of it, these power grabbers that have the TSA groping your wife and sticking their hands down your pants and now running checkpoints on the highways. These power grabbers putting up light poles with microphones listening to you and your family and admittedly doing it. They thought better. They said having the gracious leader cut in over the televisions and make announcements on the radio and TV, that might wake people up. Now you're saying, hey, I've heard the duck farts before. That's what engineers call the brank, brank, brank. What's different? Well, in the 50s, they set it up for continuity of government. where a local station would get government transmissions during emergencies in big cities, and then other stations would voluntarily get the word and tune to that government announcement. Then in the mid-90s, they said, you got to put this equipment in that can take over your system. And now they're announcing, hey, we're going to take everything over. And really what it is the internet or total media telecommunications kill switch. In fact, we have a graphic that basically breaks that down. It's a total media takeover system. And I learned this from the engineers. I learned this from the researchers. In fact, they even told me back in 99 that I could cover this. The engineer did at 98.9. And then it turned out to be a big freak out at the radio station, and the FCC threatened them. They didn't want the public to know what's going on then. Now they're ready for it. Just like the highway checkpoints I saw in federal documents where they want to have federal police running checkpoints. They didn't want that out when I first covered it. Now they're telling you it's happening. Everything that dictatorships have, we're now getting here in the United States. And I noticed, and I talked to a Dallas engineer about this, but we were able to check Dallas stations, we're south of Dallas, that they sent the tones to take over the station, but nothing was transmitted over it. Here in Austin, we got it, but it was garbled. So that's what the EAS is all part of this total media kill switch. And now they're saying during emergencies, the feds may just redirect the entire internet into government websites with government messages. And of course, this allows one unified brainwashing message to be sent out, and it's not what a free society has. All the studies and common sense shows with people with cell phone cameras and local radio stations and diverse reporters, that's what's going to get you the best coverage. Mainstream media most of the time now reports off bloggers on the ground and people with their cell phones uploading videos and Twitter. So this is a way to shut all that down if the government wants to bring in martial law or wants to put out one official story, especially if the government's basically trying to suppress the states. We talk about insurrection of the states and bringing in martial law and the John Warner Defense Authorization Act. And that's what this is all about. The federal government is bought and paid for by foreign banks that are illegitimate and that have occupied our country. This is a foreign occupying army. But they're not wearing a foreign uniform. They don't look different, so we accept it. But that's what this is. That's an important understanding there. This is a financial takeover backed up by paramilitary force using the excuse of Muslim terrorist. But when you get into the training and the secret manuals, none of it deals with foreign terrorist, real or not, real or imagined, real or manufactured. It's all about people that know about the Federal Reserve and about the occupational government. We live in an occupied country. They occupy our minds with brainwashing. They occupy our monetary system with the Federal Reserve. It's now to wake up. It's now time to wake up to that and understand what's happening. Okay, so here's reports, CBS News. Glitches reported during FEMA's first ever National Emergency Alert System test. And again, it's the first ever because before you got the little messages and then you tuned to it. They put the takeover system in 96, but they still let the stations get the order and then do it themselves. Now, they don't care. And I've noticed in the last 6 months a huge buildup. They're making sure everybody's going to do what they're told. And they were going to broadcast the fearless leader, Kim Jong Obama. I meant Adolf Obama. Those guys are actual dictator, evil people. Obama's just a puppet of the banking dictatorship. All right, I'm done ranting about that piece of information. Let's now shift gears to real crises. Unending tens of billions are spent every year on microphones and cameras and face scanning systems tracking the U.S. citizens, harassing U.S. citizens. But meanwhile, there have been 60,000 deaths. I kept saying 40,000 in the last 3 years. I've been corrected. Mexican TV and government says 60,000 in Mexico, mostly along the border with the U.S. Inside, it's around 4,000 to 5,000 deaths total. This is all kept very quiet. And as you know, I was down in South Texas, very nearby, where this new crisis took place. And I talked to the locals, and it turned out it was in the paper that Mexican helicopters, military helicopters, are deep inside the United States now, authorized to engaged narcotics traffickers, whoever that is, as if the Mexican military isn't involved in drug dealing. So is our so-called military. Point is, these militaries really work for the big mega banks. Well, in this latest article out of the Monitor newspaper, which is the big regional paper down there, serving multiple cities, they talk to the witnesses and they go, oh, yeah, it looked like they were on our side of the border and the Mexican helicopter was shooting somebody and then an ambulance went and picked him up. It looked like he was in bad shape. So this should be a big national story. Instead, it's regional. It's only in South Texas that this is even known, that it is the equivalent of the Vietnam War. In fact, more people die a year than the Vietnam War, and the government is doing nothing. When they do put a few troops up down there for a photo op, they're not allowed to stop smugglers or people crossing the border. I mean, this is incredible. And the Mexican government would never put up with U.S. military coming down there. There's some talk by Rick Perry of it happening now. No sovereign country puts up with another country's military coming in, but under anti-terrorism agreements, you can look this up, we will use Canadian and Mexican or other partners in the fight against terrorists, be they domestic or international, inside the U.S. You can pull up FEMA NLE09. Just type in FEMA NLE09. And it'll show you where they had 14 countries in the U.S. a few years ago trying to take on the American people. In fact, there it is, NLE09. And you can pull that up for yourself. You type in NLE09 FEMA, and maybe it'll come up because you're actually on the FEMA site. I talked about it so much, they may have taken it down. But usually it was the top link. What on earth? Oh, you're searching inside FEMA. It's like a Google search engine. Look, just search Google itself and type in NLE09 FEMA press release or NLE09 by itself, and you'll get the press release where they there's Infowars. It should have a link. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Infowars.com. Then you open it, and voila. FEMA administrator meets with governors to discuss emergency preparedness. And then you read deeper into this press release and others. It talks about the foreign troops. Okay, so SWAT teams dispatched as gun battle unfolds near the town down there. Let's continue. What is the response of Eric Holder? Now, remember, he's been caught perjuring himself. We played the clips. He gave press conferences admitting 2 years ago they were running this operation. Then he said, like Sergeant Schultz, I know nothing. I know nothing. Same thing with Mr. Napolitano. I mean, Miss Napolitano, the Frankenstein creature or troll or whatever she is. I don't normally call names, but she said, I'm mad at the Drudge Report and the people he links to calling me a troll. We never called you a troll, but if the name fits, a troll by any other name is still a troll. Jackbooted, un-American.